Happy Monday, everybody. Welcome to the You Are Worthy Network. So excited to be with you today. I'm super excited to introduce you here momentarily to my new friend and an incredible guest. I have no doubt that her heart's going to come shining through here today. But before I jump in, I want to thank each one of you for making the network what it is. I was just talking about this a little earlier that we celebrated late last week going over 15,000 members. And first of all, I know who's doing the heavy lifting with that. Second of all, I appreciate each one of you because I don't sit around with 15,000 people. Obviously, I can't keep up with it all, but I've noticed people don't leave our group. And I appreciate that. I appreciate whether you've watched one of our interviews or whether you're someone that's watched several of them or somewhere in between. I appreciate it because I'm doing this to encourage you. I'm doing this to give you a little shot of hope and encouragement in a very dark world and in a world where it wants to tell you that you're not worthy. And you know why I know that? Because I bought that lie myself for way too long. I bought the lie that I wasn't worthy of love, respect, or success. And I knew exactly where it came from, but I bought the lie anyway. And then as I started to bust through that negative thinking, I said, I want to do a little bit, my part. I want to do my part to help. And that's why this was created. So I hope you get a lot of value of it. I'm a preacher, so you can tell I'm starting to ramble on. I'll stop now because this is about Jessica today. So let me tell you a little bit about her and then we'll jump into conversation. Jessica Moyer is a TEDx speaker, Amazon bestselling author, host of the Real Wellness podcast, and certified leadership, wellness, nutrition, and hormone coach with over 25 years of experience helping individuals build health as the foundation for purposeful living. A former gym owner and multi certified fitness professional, she specializes in sustainable habit formation, strength based wellness, metabolic, I don't know if I said that right, health and hormone balance for high achieving women and leaders. She is the creator of the Real Wellness Framework, a holistic approach centered on realistic changes, energy creation, aligned action, and self love designed to help people restore vitality, strengthen resilience, and lead from a place of clarity and integrity. Through her books, coaching programs, and keynote presentations, Jessica equips audiences with practical, science informed tools to optimize their health, regulate stress, and create measurable results without burnout. A passionate community advocate, Jessica has helped raise over $2 million for Cure SMA and has served in multiple nonprofit leadership roles. As a reality show competitor and international model, she brings both grit and creativity to the stage. She was the proud wife of Jason for 28 years and mom to four beautiful children, including her angel Stephen. Her message is clear. When you steward your health well, you expand your capacity to lead, impact, and live with intention. Jessica, there's so much we can cover in so short a time. Welcome to the You Are Worthy Network.
Thank you so much for having me, Steve. I'm excited for our conversation. And you said two words at the beginning, hope and encouragement. And I think I shared I'm a Ziglar coach, and that is what Zig Ziglar preaches. And now his family is offering hope and encouragement. So I hope today through our conversation that I can bring that.
I I'm so glad you reminded me and the audience of that because that is something I want to dig further into at some point. But yeah, Ziglar, what an incredible program. Um, Jessica, one of the things I like to ask people right out the gate, and I do this because it's a natural question to ask anyway, but with a group that's expanding, and I know that over the next few weeks that this is going to be viewed outside the US as well. I always like for our guests to tell us what part of the world you live in.
I am in Raleigh, North Carolina.
She is near the coast, about 2 hours from the beach, if my geography memory holds correct, which it may not.
No, I'm between, yeah, the coast and the mountains, so the best of both worlds.
Yeah, you definitely have the best of both worlds. Tell us about you. We read about your family a little bit, but tell us about your husband and your kids.
Yeah, my husband puts up with me on a daily basis. He's my rock. We met when I was a senior in college, and I literally knew I was going to marry him like within the first month. We almost like tied the knot when we went on our senior trip to Cancun, but my dad would have killed me. And so we got married about a year and a half later after meeting, and we've been married for 28 and a half years. And we have four beautiful children. My oldest is 26, and my youngest is 20. He's 20, yeah. And then I have a 23-year-old, and I have a son who would be 25 actually on Wednesday, who passed away from a genetic disease.
I'm so sorry. Um, well, let me go back a little bit. I totally relate to the time frame of you and your husband. I asked my wife 3 weeks after we met, kind of casually at that point, to marry me, and then it took me 3 years to actually get it done. My joke was I think I was just getting her off the market because I knew how good she was. But
Yeah.
yeah, when you know, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we little differently than you, but we've experienced five miscarriages, and then several failed adoptions. So I certainly, to some degree, understand. So what do you guys like to do for fun in Raleigh, or do you guys like to travel a lot, or is it a little bit of both?
A little of both. We actually lived in Delaware for 20 years prior to moving here. Our youngest started NC State. My husband was in the Army for 4 years, so we moved around a little bit with the Army. I grew up in New Jersey. He grew up in Pennsylvania. But we love this area and exploring. We're big into nature and hiking, and we love pretty much everything outdoors in nature and activity like exercise. But we do love to travel. So, one of our big goals next year is to hopefully get to Italy, but we have a daughter getting married. So, we'll see how that plays out.
Yeah, well, that's exciting.
Yep, very excited.
Yeah, for sure. I those that watch regularly, they know what I'm about to do, but I think I'm gonna change it up just a tad with you. But I do want to go back in time with you a little bit. I want to go back to your senior year in high school. Did you know even then that you were going to be an entrepreneur? And before you answer, I've met a lot of entrepreneurs. I've only met two that knew in high school that was going to be their journey. But in high school, your senior year, could you not wait to get out of there because of the dreams you had? Like, did you feel like it was holding you back? Or was it, hey, I enjoyed it, but it's time for what's next? Where were you on that pendulum? And then was there an entrepreneur? Did you have your eye on the entrepreneur journey even back then? Does that make sense?
Yeah. So, I think when I was 17, 18, I went to Catholic school literally my whole life. And I enjoyed it. I was pretty active in high school. I was a runner, very involved in all the activities, but I was definitely ready for college. As far as entrepreneurship, I think there's always been a part of that in my blood because I remember even back to a young kid selling, I made perfumes. We lived in the woods. I would pick blueberries and sell them to neighbors. After high school into college, I would bake during the summers and sell my baked goods. So there was always part of me that had that entrepreneur spirit, but I didn't think that I would eventually wind up in the coaching field. I didn't know what I wanted to do. I always knew I wanted to have a family. That was a priority to me, was having children and being a mom. And so I didn't really think too much about what my career would look like. And I changed my major like four times in college. So I don't know if that answers your question.
Well, I know from reading your bio, you were in the fitness industry. Well, you still are,
Mhm.
but gym owner for quite a while. I'm assuming you didn't buy a gym right out of college. So tell us about the journey early on. Like, what did you do for work right after school?
It's so ironic because when I went to college, I majored in business and sociology and I minored in personal training, never thinking I was going to be a gym owner. I got out of college and I went into pharmaceutical sales. My dad was a physician and I used to work at his office in the summers and whenever I could. And I loved, and I guess that's entrepreneurship because it was sales. And I loved my job. But then my husband owed 4 years to the military and I had a daughter. So I chose to stay home with her versus continuing my career path in pharmaceuticals. But I really enjoyed it. Fast forward, I was a stay at home mom. I would work when my kids were in school, teaching fitness classes, training clients, working at night. But I really, for me, I wanted to be home raising my children. And so in 2000, I think it was 2018, I was at the point where I knew I needed more in my life. And so I went to a John Maxwell training, and I think we discussed this.
Yeah.
And then I went to a Ziegler Legacy certification. And I really started to pour into myself and to believe in myself to be able to then pour into others. And so I got the courage at that point to open a gym in 2019 because I felt like I was running to all these places in the community. I can't tell you how many places I worked and bringing clients into my house, going to clients. And finally, it was like God just said, it's time for you to open your own space, create a community for women to heal themselves, to be healthy, to have a space where they can come together. And that's truly what I built in my community in Delaware. And so I'm very proud of that. But also, when we knew we were moving, I knew it was time for me to move on because I was very burnout and exhausted. As you can imagine, teaching 20 classes a week, running the gym. I was also working a few other jobs, running a nonprofit. So it got to the point where I knew it was time to move forward.
Okay, so you owned the gym for how many years?
For 5 years, I sold it, and when we moved here.
Okay, all right. So correct me if I'm wrong, but I would imagine having a gym that long, and yeah, there's the physical classes that you just talked about, but you're coming into close proximity with a lot of women, and conversations begin to happen, relationships begin to form. You start to understand some of their intimate needs or challenges, and all of that, right? Is there a bridge, a natural bridge from what I'm describing, those relationships at the gym, to what you're doing with coaching?
Absolutely. And I was coaching too within the gym, but it was few and far between because my focus was running the gym. But what I noticed as a lot of women were coming in with a lot of the same stories, they weren't sharing it with each other because there's shame associated, there's embarrassment, there's fear of judgment. And I'm an open book. I've been through a lot of challenges in my life. And so I share that with women. And I think when you have a space that you create where women feel they can be vulnerable and be themselves, that that community, it's like those women needed that. And so I became a grief movement coach during that period because I realized from my own journey of grief that I could also help women and also men um, heal through their times, through their trauma, through their loss. And so I continued to take more steps once I realized there was a lot more needs than just the physical being.
Wow. So this is an actual certification that you have. Is
Mm-hmm.
it you said grief movement? Is that
It's
right?
called, yes, it's called grief movement certification. So it's using breath, movement, and sound to help heal. And it's not, I'm not a grief therapist or counselor. I coach people in these workshops to use sound or movement. We did journaling. I had a lot of different exercises we would do, not physical exercises, actually a little bit of movement. But yeah, it was pretty cool to see when you start to share with others how that can be so healing.
So is this grief movement piece, is it central in your coaching program now, or is it something totally separate?
No, I mean I use some of the skills, but not necessarily. It can be really heavy, Steve, when I hosted the
Hmm.
workshops. I had to take a lot of time in between because as you know, as a pastor, when you're taking on, I don't want to say taking on a lot of heaviness, it's a lot to process. And so I wanted to make sure that I was fully present and capable of holding space for people when they would come to me in times of need.
No, that makes total sense to me. My wife and I led a nonprofit for a few years that helping process loss was the central core of it. And we did workshops. And what you described is exactly right. Just the processing, being in the same room, holding space is another way I would describe it. And they did the hard work. But when you're done, you're like, I don't want to do anything but maybe have dinner and go to bed and not even look at this for another couple of weeks at the earliest. So I totally relate to that. So I am interested in stop me and take us back if you need to. But describe, I want to make sure I have this right. Yeah, describe your real wellness framework. Tell us more about that.
Yeah, so it's something I realized the tools that were successful for my clients were the real framework. And so it's the clients that had success long term, not just short term. I don't believe in quick fixes. I'm not an overnighter. Like we get a certain way in a certain amount of time. It's going to take time to move forward, to reach our goals, to heal. And so ours for realistic, when you set goals, they have to be realistic and achievable, like kind of like the SMART acronym, but also being resilient because we will fall, we will fail, and knowing that's okay, but being able to pick yourself back up and keep moving forward. So that's real. That's the R. E is energy, and we are slammed with different sources of energy every day. And it can be negative or positive. So it's really tapping into the sources that add value and help you move forward in life versus sucking the energy out of you. So nutrition is a big part. That's 80%. I tell people that I coach, nutrition is 80% of your health because what you're putting into your body has a direct output. Um, movement. I'm a personal trainer, very functionally based. We need to be moving our body throughout the day. Sunlight, our community. These are positive ones, hopefully. I mean, there's so many sources of energy. So really looking at the sources that you're using personally and are they adding value or are they taking away? So that's E. A is action, and that's literally just like moving forward, taking one step forward, not getting overwhelmed. So many people get stuck thinking about it and thinking about it. I've done this before. They ruminate, they don't think they're capable, they don't know where to start. And so I come along and coach people to say it's just one step, and that's where the success lies, because once you get that confidence and the momentum, you keep moving forward. And then the last one is the most important, and that's L, and that's love. Of course, love for others, but loving yourself enough to show up for yourself, to take care of your body, to take care of your mind, to do the hard work, to have grace for yourself. Because so many people I work with, you can tell that they just don't respect or love themselves. So we have to start there. So that's the real framework. We use that as a tool. I have a book, became a bestseller, but it's basic. It's something that anyone can use, not just for health, but for anything that they want to achieve in life.
Okay, so the real framework was the basis for your book.
Yes.
And is the book the same title or does it have a different name?
Yeah, it's real wellness. I have it right. Oh, I have it right here. My computer's sitting on it. I'll show you a little. I'll show you. So it's right here. Yep, real health, a practical framework for building sustainable habits, energy, and well-being. And it's really a workbook. I share some stories, lots of tools, but then it breaks it down so that people can use this workbook. I use it with companies. So if there's companies that are looking to help their employees become healthy, this is a great resource, and I walk them through it. I do workshops on it.
Okay.
That's
All
what I
right.
love to do. I love hosting workshops for small businesses or groups where they just want to become healthier in a realistic way, because we see what's going on in the world today. People just reach for that quick fix, and with every quick fix there's things that are not going to be so positive.
So we're gonna do something hypothetical. Let's say your husband and your kids, they're off on a trip. You didn't get to go this time. But there's a positive in it for you. You have 24 hours to do whatever you want to do. So give us a little glimpse into what your day would look like. Are you an early riser? Are you a coffee drinker? Do you have a routine before you start your day? But on this day, keep in mind the only parameters are you get to do it your way, but that also includes work. So take us through what you would do in your routine, but who would you work with? Would there be a workshop in there? Would there be a group coaching program? Would there be a one-on-one? Just tell us what you would do to accomplish in that 24 hours.
Oh, I love this question, Steve. So fun. I'm pretty much a creature of habit. I get up around between 6:30 and 7 most days. And I think for those that are older, I just can't sleep in anymore. Unfortunately, I don't know what it is. Like you don't want to miss out. I used to be able to sleep into like 10 or 11. I have a full glass of water when I get up. Before I even get out of bed, I pray for a few minutes, just asking God for whatever my intentions are, maybe praying for someone. Today, I woke up and my daughter, she was hoping to hear about a job. She's moving to North Carolina, and so that was my intention today, and God listened. But yeah,
Amen.
so prayer for a few minutes, water, then absolutely coffee. I am a avid coffee drinker. I usually have a cup a day, but that's like I look forward to it. Sometimes I'll tell you that in a minute. Um, I don't typically exercise in the morning, like my own exercise, but I teach group fitness classes. So if it was like a day to myself, I'd probably go teach like a Pilates class or a strength class, come back and maybe host like a 2 hour workshop because I love pouring into people and helping them better their health. And then I would go for a walk or run, and it would be my second cup of coffee day. I love finding local coffee shops. So I'm always seeking out coffee shops. I get a vanilla cappuccino, and then lift, run, exercise. If it's nice out, I love to be outside. Maybe go for a hike and then have a good dinner. That's pretty much like what I would do.
Done by 10?
Oh, I'd be in bed earlier than that. I'm usually in bed by 9.
Okay.
I like to
Okay.
decompress at night and watch like silly things on Netflix.
Yeah. So I had a couple of thoughts. Like I totally respect and inspired by the fact that you pray before you get out of bed. My joke about that is first thing I do in the morning is praise God. It might be before I go to the bathroom, but it might not. It might be right after. I'm at that age. But uh, so on the workshop front, now remember this scenario was ideal. Is this workshop that you described virtual, or is there a local company that you would love to do one for?
It's all over the place right now, Steve. I mean, if I like the ones I'm doing recently are virtual because the companies are not in the state, but I do prefer to be in person. I feel like we feed off each other's energy. During COVID, when I had to shut down my gym, I struggled because I love like hugging people, and I have a feeling you're probably the same way. But and physical touch is my love language. So I like people. I like to be around people, but I also like to have that alone time. And so I prefer to be in person because I love the energy, and I feel like you can make so much more of a difference being face to face with someone than the virtual world.
It's funny you said that before you even answered that question. The word that came to my mind, I said, I bet she's going to say something about the energy about being in person.
Yeah.
And I sense that about you. Yeah, I can tell you're probably a hugger. That's awesome. So that's kind of a great segue. So tell us a little bit about your TEDx and tell us well, let's just start there. Tell us about your TEDx.
Yeah, my TEDx was interesting. I worked with a coach in Delaware. It was one of my goals. And I was terrified because if you know of TEDx, like you don't start over. Well, now there's some different, apparently they do it a little different. But when I did it, you stood on that circle. Once you started, you were on. There's no teleprompter when I did it. And what I shared basically was a conversation. It started out as my dad and my son walking on the beach together, and they were having a conversation. And the conversation basically was my son lecturing my dad about not taking care of himself because my son passed before my dad. And I shared how when my dad came to heaven, the conversation was really in heaven that, my son never had a choice on his health. My dad was a physician, he was a primary care doctor in a small town in New Jersey. And he took care of everyone else, but didn't take care of himself. He neglected his health. And that was always a bone of contention for me because I really always believed that my dad wouldn't have the long life that he desired and deserved. And to this day, it's hard, and that's part of my message is with whatever we're given, our body is a gift from God, and that we must foster our health. And it was hard because my dad died from cancer and pulmonary fibrosis. And so the conversation was about what my dad could have done differently if he was still here. And so it was all about health and wellness. And so I gave some tips to the audience on some things that they could do just to start really prioritizing themselves.
Ooh, wow. I mean, I can see why you chose that topic, but I'm assuming you didn't camp on the personal side of it too long because that would be hard to deliver at that emotional level.
Yeah, it was emotional, but when you practice something for so long, Steve, it takes I don't want to say it takes the emotion out of it, but for me, it's part of my journey. It's the cross I bear. I'm very comfortable talking about my losses. I mean, besides my son, I lost two more babies in utero right
Mm,
after him, lost my dad, lost my cousin. So I went through a period in my 30s and actually my late 20s, early 30s, where I had a lot of loss.
mm.
And so it was a very heavy time in my life. And so if I can help other people carry their cross and get through that, then that's part of my mission.
I love that. I love that you're vulnerable about it. I think we need more of that. That's true leadership is leading with vulnerability. Um,
And that's what I
so
represent. That's what the real framework is about too, is keeping it real. Like we all have struggles. You mentioned like it can be very dark, but there's also a lot of light and you have to seek the light and you have to find people that represent that because we have choices in life. We can choose to stay in the dark or we can move towards the light and let other people help us.
Oh, absolutely. We were not designed to live this life alone. And everything in society says pull yourself up by the bootstraps, do it alone. You don't need anybody else. It's all lies. It's all sensationalized lies. We are created for community. And I appreciate you saying that. What else do you like to speak on when you're given an opportunity to do a keynote?
Do you hear the big boy in the back?
I saw him earlier. I was going to say something,
Come here. Yes, he's barking at the other one out there. Okay. What was the question? See, squirrel brain. This is also like the menopause brain.
but I can see him, but I can't hear him though.
Okay, I am glad. Hopefully, no one can hear his obnoxious bark.
It's probably getting on your nerves though.
It's okay.
I was just asking, what do you like to speak on when you're given an opportunity to do a keynote? I'm sure you have several.
Yeah, the real framework is something that I'm very passionate about, and just sharing with people my personal story, but encouraging them to take care of their health. Because if we don't have our health, we can't enjoy life. And we've seen it with people that we love that when they're struggling. I mean, I had a stomach virus for a couple of days last week, and man, you can't really
Mm,
function when you're not well. And
mm-mm.
so, a lot of times, most of the time, we have control over our health. Of course, there's situations where things happen. People get cancer, they have heart disease, and some of it we can't help. But yeah, so that's my message.
No, that's good. I was going to ask you something about the TEDx. Sorry, I'm taking a step back. Is your TEDx is published, right?
Yeah, sorry, I was muting myself. My
No,
TEDx,
I
yes,
caught.
it's published. It's called the ironic conversation.
Would you be open to posting your TEDx in the comments
Oh,
section?
absolutely.
That'd be awesome. Give
Yeah.
people a chance to see that. That'd be wonderful.
Yeah.
Um, Tell folks where they can find you and learn more about the great work that you're doing.
Yeah, so I'm on Facebook, and you'll see me, Jessica Smith Moyer. I have a group called the Real Wellness for Women. Men can join; it's mostly women. That's on Facebook. Instagram is, I think it's Jess Moyer. Isn't that awful, Steve? I don't even know what mine is. Let
Well,
me
you're
look.
okay. You don't have to. You gave me the links, so
Yes.
I just always like for the guest to say it,
No,
but
I appreciate that.
I will share all the links in the show notes when we're done for sure. Um, Jessica, as we wrap up, any words of encouragement for the person that's watching this that they don't feel worthy of love, respect, and success. They're in a chapter of their story that is exceedingly difficult, but you and I know it's just a chapter. But when you're in that chapter, it's hard to see beyond it, right? And what words of encouragement would you leave them with today?
Well, I think we're all worthy in God's eyes. And if you have faith, it's leaning into that, knowing that if anything else, God's got you. One of my favorite quotes is just like, let go and let God. And we are all worthy. We're all created in God's image. A lot of it is the choices we make in life. And if there's things you're not proud of, you can always reconcile that. Again, I talked about like reaching out for help if you're in a dark space. There's times where I've had to reach out, and it's just so important to know that someone out there is gonna have your back. Um, yeah, it makes me sad to think that people don't think they're worthy, and I think we all struggle with that at some time, sometime in our life, depending on our circumstances or what we've been told or situations we've been through. But you also have to learn that you have a purpose here and figuring out what that is too, because we are all designed with a purpose. And so really tapping into what that is. And usually the storm we've walked through is usually the people that we help. And so for me, it's, grief and loss and health challenges. And so now they're the people that I can help because I've walked through this dark period. And so maybe for your listeners, if they're not sure, maybe think of something that they've survived and maybe they could help someone else with that.
It's so true. I remember we came into the kingdom of God with marital challenges. My thing is God not only saved our marriage, he saved our souls in the process. But I remember telling people that were studying the Bible with us, telling us, you guys are going to be in a position to be used by God one day. You'll be sitting on somebody's couch helping them with the exact same thing. And when you're in the moment, you don't see it. You're like, yeah, right. I just need help. But then a year or two later, there you are in that position helping them with the exact same thing. So it's so, so true. Um,
Yeah, my
I,
husband and I, when our son passed, we started a nonprofit, Cure SMA, and we sat many times with families and with parents throughout the years going through what we did. And so it was, even though it was horrible to have to go through what we went through, it was rewarding to be able to at least offer comfort or be an ear to listen for people. And so, yeah,
that's right.
Steve, that's so important to be able to walk alongside people that the storm that you walk through already.
Yeah, because I believe sometimes the storm is, yeah, it's to help us mature. It's to help us have others to walk us through it, do it in community. It's to help us see our need for God, for sure. But sometimes that storm is also preparing us for who God wants to help down the road that He's going to put us on the path with on their journey. So it's got multiple reasons for it. Jessica, before we go, I want to ask you what's next for you, and it's okay if it's more of the same because it seems like you're living your sweet spot right now. But is there something right around the corner that's new and exciting for you?
No, I'm applying to more reality shows. I'm in this season of my life, like my kids are all grown. I'm like, okay, what can I do that really pushes me outside my comfort zone? Back in December, I did a Mr. Beast challenge, and since then, I've applied for a few more competition, like reality shows. I really am pausing and trying to listen to what God is telling me to do next because it's been a tough season, Steve, with a transition from moving and selling a gym and figuring out what my coaching program looks like. And so I'm really trying to just listen to what that is. I know God has put on my heart to do some more volunteering. My ultimate goal is to own a home that I can offer as a retreat house for parents that have lost a child, for them
Wow.
to come and kind of rekindle, the relationship, because I know what I went through, and also a space for moms who just need a break from life. So that's one of my big goals. I found a house, it's just not in my budget. So if anyone is listening and has some extra funds and they want to donate towards that, but yeah, I don't know. We're gonna see. I'm just kind of along for the ride.
There's this word that is small. It's only three letters, but it's so powerful. It's not in my budget yet.
Yet,
Or
yet.
or or if God wants to provide another way, yes, there's that too, right?
I know. I'm like, if the sky would just open up and provide a little money, but
Yeah.
if it's meant to be, it'll happen, and it might not be this the time. But I did go look at a house last week. I'm like, this could work. Beautiful
Got
piece of
the
property.
yeah, I'm sure it got the dreams going.
Yeah, it did.
So I'm going to show my age just a little bit. So if we see you on the next season of, I don't even know if this is out anymore, American Ninja Warrior, and I can say this and not show my age, although I just gave it away with that example, because there's a revised version of Fear Factor. We're not going to see you on one of those two, are we?
Listen, I looked at that application and I was like, I am pretty brave, but I no thank you, especially like eating things that are alive. And yeah, Ninja Warrior, I don't know if I'm strong enough for that yet. I did apply
Where's
for
yet?
Survivor and a few other ones. Name that tune. So we'll see. We'll see what's meant to be for me.
Well, I'll tell you more sometime off air, but I have interviewed someone that almost won Survivor, and I could put you in touch with her
Cool.
at some point if you wanted
Yeah.
to know more about how it
Yeah, I'm
works.
not quite sure what they're looking for.
Yeah, yeah. Um, I want to thank you. I want to thank you for being, I know you can't be anybody else, but I want to thank you for being authentic. I want to thank you for being vulnerable. And some of the things that you've shared here while being vulnerable, there's gold in the things you said. And thank you for being compassionate. And so I just want to thank you for being that kind of person. The world needs more of people like you. And it's been a pleasure talking to you today. Thank you for being our special guest. I really appreciate you.
Thanks so much, Steve. It's been an honor.
Guys, as we wrap up, I just want to remind you, because that's what I do. I'm a reminder that you're worthy of love, respect, and success. And wherever you're at on the journey, if you're on top of the mountain, praise God and share that experience with us. And if you're in the wilderness, because we all go through the wilderness, I promise you, it won't last forever. It's a chapter in your book, but don't go through that wilderness alone. And if you're somewhere in between, well, that's where we live most of the time, is in between, right? But the good news is some of your best days you haven't seen yet. And some of the best chapters of your book, your life, haven't been written yet. So be encouraged by that. Your story's not over yet. I appreciate each one of you. Until next time, God bless. Take care.